Hey, this is Double R. I wanted to tell you that Anchor by Spotify is a great and easy way to make a podcast with everything you need and all in one place. Anchor has the tools to allow you to record, edit your podcast straight from your phone or your computer. When hosting with Anchor, you can distribute your podcast to all listening platforms like Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and more. It's everything you need to make a podcast in one place. Best of all, it's totally free. So go down the Anchor app or go to Anchor.fm to get started. This is the Let's Roll Podcast with your host, Double R. What up, everybody? It's Double R, and this is the Let's Roll Podcast. I'm the host that rolls the most. I know I just said that all out of order, but it is what it is. Today's episode is a very special episode because I'm going to talk about my late grandmother on my mom's side, my mom's mother, Mama Sweet. That's what we called her, Mama Sweet. So in this episode, I'm going to talk about her birthday's coming up, how old she would be, and some stories and things that I remember the most about her. And I'm going to do all that right after this. So let's talk about my grandmother, Mama Sweet. Mama Sweet, out of my two grandmothers, I love them both, care about them very deeply, but I will say that she's my favorite out of the two. Now, and I know that sounds bad because I don't really want to play one against the other, but she was my favorite as far as hanging out with and doing things with, because my two grandmothers were that I had, and I'm going to refer to my other grandmother as Grandma B, but it was Grandma in our last name. That's what she was called. And then it was Mama Sweet on my mom's side. So I had my two grandmothers, Grandma B and Mama Sweet. They were totally opposite of each other as far as when it came to be when I was with them. Like Grandma B was very I won't say scared, but I'll say nervous. Not being around me, but just nervous that I was going to break something when I was in her care, and I didn't get to do a whole lot over at her house. Like, we didn't really go outside and play, or, she didn't let me go really outside or venture off anywhere. She kind of kept me in the house. Mama Sweet, on the other hand, this grandmother probably pretty much let me do anything. Like, she lived in a mobile home for years, and I would go over there, and she would do all kinds of things with me. We would draw. She would, when I was old enough, and she put me up on the counter and in the kitchen, and we would make food. I remember the main thing that I used to make going over to her house when I was young was nachos. And it was pretty much open a can of refried beans, open Cheese Whiz that was in a jar, like, melted type cheese in a jar, and sour cream. And you warm the cheese dip up and the beans up, and then dump them on, the beans on chips. We cover it with cheese and then sour cream. And that was my go-to thing that I made at my grandmother's house that she lived. She had these things called mud daubers outside in the yard. I go outside and play in the yard, and I say yard, her trailer was at the end of the lot next to this bigger lot. And it was a big open lot area behind this building that looked kind of like a little small church. I don't know what it was, but like a little house or whatever. But her side of her front door to her trailer went, opened out to this yard. So I go out there and play in the mud, go dig for mud daubers. Mud daubers would make this, they kind of look like, I want to say crawfish, kind of like that. But they make this big mud mound, and they go, it would be kind of built up, and they had a hole at the top they go down in. So I would go out there and destroy those, trying to find those. She let me play with fire. She did all kinds of things, let me do. So she lived in this trailer, and her front door, or her trailer's up, most of mobile homes are up high, so you have stairs to get up in there. So she had like a like stairs, but it went up to like a little small deck, a big platform area where you could step out on. You didn't literally have to start walking downstairs when you open the door. You could step out and shut the door, and you could even sit up there. It was big enough. It had a chair, place big enough for a chair to be up there to sit in, whatever. So, but it was also big enough to have a little playhouse, clubhouse, whatever you want to call it, underneath it. And it actually had this door because she used it for some storage, not anything that really was, well, how do I want to say it? Like, you didn't put anything down there that you wanted to keep nice and neat or clean or whatever. You just put like stuff down there like buckets and stuff like that. So I had this idea one day, and I asked her, I said, hey, can I clean that out and make my little clubhouse down there? Because when I was young, I was really small because of my condition. I'm really small. Like, even when I was 10, I probably looked like I was 5 or 6. As far as body size goes, they're really small. So I could fit under there easily. And she let me build this little clubhouse. So now, the back side of when you went underneath, it wasn't closed off from the trailer, like the underneath the trailer. So, like, when I went into this little storage area, it didn't have a back to it. It was just, I could see underneath the trailer. At least that's what I remember. I could be a little bit mistaken, but that's what I remember. So here I am, a little kid playing underneath this stairs of the mobile home, where there's rats, all kinds of stuff down there, and I'm just down there doing my thing and having fun. And like I said, my Mama Sweet was great. She let me do all kinds of things. The older I got, I had a very close relationship to Mama Sweet as far as my two grandmothers. I actually found her next place for her to live. I think it was after we moved. We lived in Houston, and then we lived out to an area called Magnolia, or Tomball, Texas area. And then we used to go, when we were living in Houston, we had friends in the Woodlands, Texas. And we would go over there because there was this park that was behind this senior living. No, well, we didn't know at that time, but there was a park over there that we went and we go to because it had all these little paths, sidewalk, concrete paths and stuff. And it was really cool for someone like me being in a wheelchair and my friends that were on bikes and stuff. So we would go and visit these friends in the Woodlands, and at the time my mom wanted to move my grandmother out of the trailer and move her somewhere. And anyway, make a kind of speed up the story here. When we went to that park, me and some friends were cruising down the path, and the path ended up at these apartments. And I don't know if I went and asked about the apartments, or I noticed that most of the people were older people that were living there, like, that I saw. So I went and told my mom, I said, Mom, there's an apartment over here. I think older people live here. So we ended up finding out that it was not as assisted living, but just senior living. And it was based on your income if you were on Social Security and stuff like that. So my mom checked it out, and my grandmother ended up moving there. And then she lived there for another, I don't know, probably another 8-10 years maybe. And then I remember going over there and visiting her, and the stuff that I remember there was, if you were going to go see my grandmother, you better call ahead of time and tell her to turn the AC on. She did not run the AC in her house. And there was a couple of times I made the mistake not calling ahead of time and walking in there and thought, I don't understand how you can live in here. Like, it's so hot. But she was fine, I do know now as an adult that the older you get, you get to a point where you're kind of cold. Like, you don't have the body mass and stuff anymore, and you just, you get really cold really easy. So, but I would call her and say, hey, Mom Sweet, turn on the AC. I'm coming to see you. She's like, okay. So that way the AC would be running by the time I got there. So I would go spend a lot of time over there. A couple of funny things that happened at her apartment was one, me and my friend went over there one time and hanging out. We were hanging out for the weekend or whatever, spending the night over there. And my grandmother was not a very good cook. And then you really had to be careful about stuff in the refrigerator because, especially the older she got, she would just forget about things being in there and still eat them, and then didn't understand why she would get sick all the time. Well, that's because you're eating stuff that you should have thrown away a long time ago. But this one time, she asked us what we wanted to eat. I said, I don't know, what do you have? And she said, oh, I can make sloppy joes. And I was like, all right, cool. Now, you know how you can, you'll get something in your head about, especially when it comes to food, like somebody tell you, hey, we're going to get a hamburger and we're going to go to, what does it say, McDonald's. And you get the idea of going to McDonald's, you get the idea of the taste and all that, and you're anticipating McDonald's hamburger. Well, we were anticipating a sloppy joe. And so she brings us a sloppy joe with some, on the side with some chips, and me and my friend just bit into it, and the look on our face was like, what the hell was this? And we kind of forced what we bit off down our throat, and then we kind of set the sloppy joe down and went, Mama Sweet, what's in this? And she goes, oh, well, I didn't have sloppy joe mix, so I kind of created some with some, using probably ketchup. I don't know what she used, but the seasoning she used was meatloaf seasoning. Now, it's not that I don't like meatloaf. I'll eat meatloaf. But when I'm prepared to eat a sloppy joe and it tastes like not sloppy joe, oh, that just ruins everything. So that was a funny thing. And what we ended up doing is we kind of went, we're not really hungry now or something. We made it some reason, and we went back outside, and we, like this area she lived in, like I said, had these nice sidewalk paths that led to all kinds of different places. And we went to McDonald's because we could go down these paths and go to McDonald's. And we went to McDonald's and got something to eat. Because, no, we're not eating those, whatever those were. One funny story was my grandmother was, getting to the point where she probably needed to stop driving. Like, she had a few little minor incidents driving, but she wasn't totally at the point that, now, if it was up to us, we would have taken the keys away from her and just said, you don't need to drive anymore. But she made a statement one time, and there was a group of us, like my mom, me, and some other family members, and she made this comment, well, when y'all think it's ready for me to stop driving, all you have to do is ask for the keys, and I'll give it up. And all of us put our hand out like, give us the keys. And she goes, I don't mean right now. So that's a funny thing, After she lived in the Woodlands, then we moved her to Tomball to another assisted living, another senior facility or apartment, whatever you call it. And I don't think she lived there for very long because she ended up coming and living with my mom and dad at the time. I wasn't living at home at the time, so she came and moved into what was my bedroom when I was younger and lived here. Sorry about the noise. So she lived here until she passed away. My grandmother lived until she was 96 years old, I believe. That's right. If I'm wrong, I'm sorry. Maybe it was 95. So either 95 or 96. And when you have somebody that is slowly getting older and any day they could pass, it's not as hard as someone that just passes out of the blue, if that makes sense. Let me talk about that right after this. As I said, my grandmother lived until she was 95, 96 years old. And she was living at my mom and dad's house at the time. My mom was her caregiver and taking care of her. By now, she couldn't walk. She could stand up, as far as I know. She could stand up and able to get out of bed and get in her chair. And my mom would take her a few places here and there, but there was it got to the point where she was not able to do a whole lot, so she would spend a lot of time in bed, or she would be sitting in her wheelchair and me in my mom's sewing room hanging out with her, or whatever. I will say this: as old as my grandmother got, she never lost her wit. She didn't, as far as I know, have dementia. She definitely didn't have Alzheimer's. There might have been a few little memory issues, but nothing like at the point like Alzheimer's or dementia. She just has very little memory issues. She was very witty, very quick, very funny. She was a very caring grandmother. And like I said, when somebody is slowly, and not that she was like super sick or anything like that, she was just getting older, and time was not on her side anymore. And you kind of, at least for me, I kind of came to grips with it. Like I just knew, okay, any day I'm going to get a call and she's going to be gone. And I'm okay. You know, obviously I would be upset, but I'm not going to be devastated, because I made the comment a few minutes ago that when somebody passes, when somebody you see is passing away, and what I mean by that is it's a slow process. You know, this is coming, and you see it coming. And as long as you can get to a place where you can say, okay, I see it coming, I'm okay with it, I'm at peace with it, because, you know, what is her life like right now? You know, do I want her to stay here just selfishly? No. So I was okay with my grandmother. You know, I knew it was going to happen at any time, any day. Versus if she would have just early on in life, just one day she's gone, like because of an accident or whatever. You know, I'll touch on this, what I'm about to say, in another episode. But I lost my grandmother, I believe in August of 2006, and I lost my father in October 2006. So roughly 3 months apart, I lost two people in my life. And like I said, I'll get into my dad passing in an episode I'm doing for Father's Day. But I remember getting the call from my mom, and basically my mom just said, you know, Mama Sweet has passed away. She's gone. And I said, okay. And I remember us having, because we had her cremated. We didn't have a gravesite service or anything. We had a service or a memorial service here at my mom and dad's house. And my mom's siblings came. My grandfather, her husband, he died before, I think 2 years before I was born. So I never got to meet Papa Sweet, which is his name. I never got to meet Papa Sweet. But you know, the family members that could show up came, and I made this comment to my mom in the Mama's Boy episode that I did with my mom. I made the comment to her that, you know, she's a very, like, she can keep her cool in high stress situations, and I don't often see her, or at least throughout my life, I never saw my mom cry very often or get upset about things. And but I remember during the memorial service that my mom, when she started to talk about my grandmother, she started getting teary-eyed and choked up. And of course, that makes me teary-eyed and choked up. But enough of that sadness. I mean, yes, I lost my grandmother, and I was sad about it, but I was also happy at the same time, because she wasn't laying in bed anymore suffering. And not that she was in terrible pain, but she just, you know, her quality of life was like, had been diminished very much just because of the lack of mobility, the lack of energy. You know, she, as far as I know, we'll just say it like this, she died of natural causes, as far as everything just got old and stopped. Is like the way I like to say it. She will be She would have been 111 years. No, I'm sorry. She would have been, is it 111? Hang on. Let me do this math because I just probably screwed everything up. Okay. She was born in, I think she was in 1911. Yeah. Okay. I had that wrong. Last year she would have been 110. This year she would be 111 if she was still alive. And when I realized that, I was like, good Lord. But yes, that's the episode about my grandmother, Mama Swede. And this will be out today, or will come out. As a recording, I'm recording this on 5/20/2022. When this comes out, it'll be her actual birthday. I miss my grandmother. Sometimes I wish she was here. I used to go spending a lot of time with her growing up and spending the night and having really cool conversations. But I am glad that she's not still here suffering. There are things I wish she would have got to see. Like things like, after she passed, the following year I got married. And then of course 6 years ago I got divorced, but things like seeing things like that. Seeing me get to the age that I am now, and now I wouldn't have expected her to live to 111, but she would have got to see some of the things that I got to accomplish and do, and I would have liked to have her see those things, especially when I got married. I would have liked to, sorry about that, I would have liked to have seen her see me get married. But that being said, happy birthday, Mama Swede. I hope you're looking down on me and you're proud of me, and I love you. Guys, make sure you go and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Right now, currently, as of this recording, I use the YouTube channel right now to upload past episodes every Saturday on YouTube. So the people that don't want to listen to the podcast on Spotify or whatever, just want an easy way to listen to the episodes, quick way, they can go listen to them on YouTube. It's not an actual video of me doing the show. It's just an audiogram video, but at least you can still hear the episodes. I do that every Saturday. Old episode, past episodes, every Saturday come out on YouTube. Please go and find us on YouTube. You can do that by going to the website, www.theletsrollpodcast.com. Find the links on the website. Go and subscribe to our channel. We are trying our best to get to at least 100 subscribers right now. Now, you might be going, well, just 100? Why not 1,000? Why not? Hey, I'm doing it in baby steps. If I can get my first 100, I can get the custom URL. If I start seeing a lot of interest, then I'll start doing other videos. I might even do live episodes, like just specifically for YouTube. We also have a Patreon. That's another thing you can go support us on, is Patreon, and you can also find those links on the website. But with that being said, make sure you kiss your grandmothers, tell them you love them, even when they're not here. Make sure you give your grandmothers love. And as always, until next time, let's roll.
Hey, this is Danny. You're listening to the Let's Roll podcast with host Double R. Make sure you're following us on all of social media. Find the links below in the description or at the letsrollpodcast.com.